The Madras High Court has asked if the Tamil Nadu Hindu Religious and Charitable Endowments Department is empowered to interfere in the affairs of the Podu Dikshitas Committee of the Chidambaram Nadaraja Temple in Kadalur district. The priests at the renowned temple, first built in the 10th century, complained that the HRNC department has been trying to take control of the shrine for several years. The federal interviewed Arun Nadarajan, the special government pleader for the HRNC department. I met Podu Dikshitas in Chidambaram temple and I had a detailed chat with them. They are complaining that even after the Supreme Court has declared Chidambaram temple as a denomination temple, there were several complaints, litigations being filed against them, and the HRNC is trying to take over the temple anytime, and they are filing the cases only to take over the administration of the temple. How true is the statement?
See, there's a difference between religious denomination and denomination temple. Chidambaram temple is not a denomination temple. It was built in the 5th century by the Cholas. So at that point of time, Podu Dikshitas were not in the picture. Podu Dikshitas have been declared as a religious denomination. Religious denomination is within the Hindu community, within the Hindu religion. You have to say that I have my distinct set of practices. So you may say that my way of worship is different, my way of doing particular customs are different. If you take Lingayats in Karnataka, they are a religious denomination. That's how Chidambaram, as far as Chidambaram is concerned, Podu Dikshitas have been declared as a religious denomination. There is no quarrel on that. But to say that Chidambaram temple is a denomination temple, that's a different issue altogether. A denomination temple is one where you will have to show that my ancestors had built the temple and we have been in continuous management of the temple and there is no public contribution, there is no public donation. That is not the case as far as Chidambaram temple is concerned. Chidambaram temple was constructed by the Cholas in the 5th century and public have been worshipping there from time immemorial. So you can't say that it is a denomination temple. So there's a difference between denomination temple and a religious denomination. So Chidambaram temple was never been a denomination temple, and if it's to be a denomination temple, there should be a declaration by the civil court. That's not happened as far as Chidambaram temple is concerned.
Okay, but what has been said in the 2014 Supreme Court judgment? Because when I interviewed the Podu Dikshitas, they told me that since the Supreme Court has given a clean sheet to them, that's why they are administrating the temple as per law, and only HRNC is creating troubles, filing cases against them.
No, as far as the Subramanian Swamy judgment of the Supreme Court in 2014 is concerned, that is an issue where the HRNC department had appointed an executive officer. Though the Act provided for an appointment of an executive officer, on what circumstances an executive officer has to be appointed and what is the term of the executive officer, those were not defined by way of a rules. Therefore, the Supreme Court said, though you may have the power to appoint an executive officer, the rules, you don't have a rules. So the procedure is quite unregulated. So the Supreme Court said, you first frame the rules and then take an action. Supreme Court did not say that you are not competent to appoint an executive officer. Supreme Court only said that the procedure to be followed has not been followed, therefore follow the procedure. In fact, Supreme Court also recognized the fact that the HRNC department has a power to regulate as far as Chidambaram temple is concerned. Therefore, nowhere the Supreme Court said that it's a denomination temple and Podu Dikshitas. No doubt that Podu Dikshitas are a religious denomination, that's been recognized by the Supreme Court. I'm not coming into that issue.
Okay, but the community is religious as per religious denomination, but not the temple.
The temple is not a denomination temple, and therefore the control to be exercised by the HRNC department is you first frame the rules and then do it, is what the Supreme Court has said. And now after the judgment of the Supreme Court in 2015, the rules have been framed. Therefore, it's not that we don't have control over the Chidambaram temple. If there is an act of mismanagement, the HRNC department can anyway intervene in the management of the temple.
Sir, in the last hearing, HRNC mentioned the loss of revenue in the temple has to be discussed, and the minister also mentioned earlier when the HRNC was managing the temple, they received some 3 crore rupees a year. But recently the temple collection reduced to 2 lakh rupees. That was one of the major argument about this temple. So can you elaborate on that? What went into this argument?
See, in 2009 when the executive officer was appointed, gradually the income of the temple went high. In 2014, after the judgment of the Supreme Court, we came back. We came out of the temple. So in 2014, when we came out of the temple, there were fixed deposits of 3 crores and 35 lakhs. And in 2024, the Commissioner HRNC in 2023, the Commissioner HRNC files an application before the court because there are two issues which are going on, which required the Commissioner HRNC to just get into the picture. One is there were indiscriminate repairs being carried out in the Chidambaram temple without any sort of authorization. Because now the division bench, which is special bench, was constituted for temple matters, they are given a set of 75 directions, which covers broadly the entire setup as to how temples will have to be maintained. So if that is done, then all the temples will really have a very good time as far as Tamil Nadu is concerned. So when after that order has come, there is something called a state level expert committee, there is something called a district level expert committee. The state level expert committee and district level expert committee comprises of experts in Agama, either a Vainava expert or a Shaiva expert, then a expert in Shilpa Sastra, expert representative from the state archaeology department. So this is this body which will have to now give a permission if you want to do some Tirupani work or some repair in a temple. It is this body which will have to give its clearance. Without this body's clearance, you can't do any repair as far as Tamil Nadu is concerned. Now, as far as Chidambaram temple is concerned, though the High Court has given a set of directions saying that there should be a state level expert committee, a district level expert committee, Chidambaram temple is concerned, they don't follow any of these procedures. So, rampant repairs were going on, structures were being dismantled, there was a huge excavation going on, we didn't know what's happening there. We through some well-wishers, we got the pictures, then we moved the High Court. High Court was shocked by seeing all these pictures, and the High Court gave an injunction restraining them not to carry out any sort of repairs. In fact, they gave an undertaking, and then even after giving undertaking, they did not follow it. Then the High Court stepped in, High Court gave an injunction. Second point which was raised is about the accounting, because where this money is coming, where the money is going, there was no clear picture at all. Therefore, we wanted, second prayer was to submit the accounts. For that, the positions filed the set of documents. One of the document is the income tax returns filed for 2022-23, and they disclosed an income of 2 lakhs. 2 lakhs was very less because just to give a comparison, there is a small temple called Thillai Govindaraja Perumal temple within the campus of Chidambaram temple, and Thillai Govindaraja Perumal temple is considered to be a separate temple, and from 1938 there is a scheme which is there, and there is an executive officer of the HRNC department who is also there. That temple has an annual income of 25 lakhs, it goes to 35 lakhs, 36 lakhs also. So just to give a small comparison, a small temple which only has one pragaram inside the Chidambaram temple and it has an income of 30 lakhs, a huge temple like Chidambaram Nataraja temple cannot have an income of 2 lakhs. So the High Court was also shocked by looking at their income tax return. So the High Court said, you file the last 10 years, what is the income expenditure statements, please file that in court, was the order of the High Court. For which the positions came back to the court and said that these are voluminous books and we will not be in a position to do that. Then the High Court said you file for 5 years. In fact, now what we had mentioned, one of the allegations in our petition is that whatever donation which comes inside is not being properly accounted, it's been misappropriated. To accepting that statement, the positions filed a reply saying that whatever money comes, the donation comes, the positions they divide it within themselves. And whenever it is required to expend for the temple, then they give it. So the court was asking, like, you don't have any right to take it to your home and then say that whenever the temple requires it, I'll give it back. So the court also said that this accounting system is not proper. There should be a proper accounting system. And the matter again stands posted on 17th of October now.
Okay. So can you tell us whether the HRNC has any documentary evidence to prove that the Pudu Dikshithas of the Chidambaram temple have sold 2,000 acres of the land belonging to the temple?
These 2,000 acres of land are Kattalai lands. In fact, HRNC, the President Executive Officer, when we took over, we have done an inventory of what is the extent of land. And the balance lands are in the control of private parties because these are all Kattalai lands. And most of these lands have been sold and we have proof, and all those documents will be produced in the court.
How come these lands belonging to the temple could be sold without the confirmation, without the process by the government? There should be the record proof, right? When they are selling the lands belonging to the temple, I don't think it would go unseen by the government authorities, the registration department.
See, all these lands, as it is, when there's a charge created in the land, it is for the authorities who actually will have to go into it. See, if now you have given the authority to check whether there's a charge created in it on the Pudu Dikshithas. And if the Pudu Dikshithas are going to sell it, who is to check it? So only if there's a department there, the department can see if there's a charge and they can always raise an objection, because all these temple lands when HRNC is there, when the executive officer comes to when he finds that there's a charge in the charge in the temple, then the document saying that a particular portion of it will have to be earmarked for a particular function in a temple, then he gives an objection to the registrar, sub-registrar, saying that these lands should not be registered. That mechanism is not adopted by the Podu Dikshitas.
They have mentioned that this temple is known for offering Pirava Varam, where you don't, born again. That's why they are not placing the undial. But HRNC wants them to place the cash box, and they feel very insecure and targeted by the HRNC, since many cases were filed against them, and they feel the government tries to paint a negative picture about their community.
No, as far as undials are concerned, see, when you are allowing public to come inside the temple, see, as a public, if I go inside a temple and if I want to offer something to the Lord, it is my right to do it. Nobody can prevent me from doing it. It is my right. I think that I take a vow and some of my thing has been fulfilled by the God, and I think it is my duty to contribute something to the God. So nobody can stop me from doing that. Today, if public are allowed inside and if public wants to contribute, Undial is a transparent way of doing things, because there is something called an Undial accounting rules also in place. So whenever a Undial is placed inside the temple, the authorities go to it, seal the Undial, and there is a specific date on a month where the Undials have to be opened, how the Undials have to be opened, how it is to be accounted, all that the rules are there. If you don't keep an Undial, it means that the public donation is being pilfered, it's been misappropriated. That is the case in Chidambaram. Today there are thousands of devotees who come inside the temple, and where do the offerings of the public go? That's a question which has to be answered by the Podu Dikshitas.
Dikshita community representatives, they say they are facing several cases related to the administration of the temple, and they feel very insecure and vulnerable, and they say can you tell us how many cases were filed by the government regarding the administration of this temple?
Except for this case filed by the Commissioner HRNC, where we sought for a direction saying that don't make any repairs inside and asking for proper accounts, there are no other cases filed by the HRNC department. There are other public interest litigants who had filed it, because as far as there is one issue saying that standing on top of Kanagasabha and having darshan of the Lord, that was prohibited by the Podu Dikshitas. There was a public interest litigant who had filed a petition. Based on that, the government issued a GO authorizing, saying that public should be allowed to have darshan of the God from the Kanagasabha. That came to be challenged by the Podu Dikshitas, and there are some other public interest litigants who have challenged that GO. So that has nothing to do with the HRNC department. We have not challenged, except for this seeking for a direction saying that don't make any repairs and asking for accounts. HRNC department has not filed any other cases against them.